Simone Holloway stood frozen in front of the cathedral mirror, her fingers trembling against ivory lace worth more than most people's homes. In 72 hours, she would marry Adrian Vale, the man America worshipped as the perfect billionaire. But 3 nights ago, she cracked open his private server and found something that stopped her heart cold. Offshore accounts bleeding into violent syndicates, shell corporations tied to human trafficking, and encrypted files linking her fiancé to one of the most feared mafia organizations in Asia. She sent one desperate message to the only man dangerous enough to help her, the Korean gangster who shattered her heart 5 years ago and vanished without explanation. When the dressing room door finally opened, Kang Min-jae stepped through the shadows like death itself, his dark eyes locked on hers with the kind of intensity that could burn cities down. He looked at her wedding dress, then at her face, and said 4 words that changed everything. "You called me back." If you're watching this from your city tonight, drop a like and comment where you're from so I can see how far this story travels. Now let me tell you how a runaway bride and a ghost from Busan tore through Manhattan in the snow. The cathedral smelled like imported roses and old money. Every floral arrangement had been flown in from Europe. Every pew had been hand-polished. Every candle flickered beneath stained glass windows worth more than Simone's childhood home in Atlanta. Simone Holloway sat alone in the bridal suite, staring at her reflection like it belonged to someone else. The dress was perfect. Custom Valentino. Hand-stitched lace that probably cost 6 figures. It fit her like a second skin. Which made sense because 3 designers had spent 4 months making sure every seam, every curve, every delicate detail made her look like the kind of woman who belonged on magazine covers. She looked exactly like the bride Adrian Vale deserved, which was the problem. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She pressed her palms flat against the marble vanity, trying to breathe like her therapist taught her. In through the nose, out through the mouth, count to 4. Don't spiral. It didn't work. Because every time she closed her eyes, she saw the files again. 3 nights ago, she couldn't sleep. Wedding jitters, Adrian called it. He kissed her forehead, told her everything would be perfect, then disappeared into his home office like he always did after midnight. Simone lay awake in their penthouse bedroom, staring at the ceiling, trying to convince herself that marrying Adrian was the right choice. He was brilliant, successful, respected. He treated her well, at least well enough. He never raised his voice, never showed up drunk, never made her feel small in public, but he also never made her feel seen. Not the way... She shoved the thought away before it could finish forming. Around 2 in the morning, she gave up on sleep and wandered downstairs. Adrian's office door was cracked open. The blue glow of his computer screen bled into the hallway. She should have kept walking, but something stopped her. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was the way Adrian had been acting lately. Distracted, tense, taking phone calls in other rooms and closing doors when she walked past. She pushed the door open quietly. Adrian wasn't there. His laptop sat open on the desk, still logged in. Financial reports covered the screen. Nothing unusual. Adrian ran a private equity firm. Numbers were his whole life. Simone almost left. But then she noticed the second browser window hidden behind the spreadsheets. Her stomach dropped. Encrypted file directories. Offshore account dashboards. Transfer logs showing millions of dollars moving through shell corporations with names that sounded like they were generated by a random word algorithm. She clicked deeper. Then deeper. Then she found the names. Yakuza lieutenants. Triad financiers, Eastern European arms dealers, an entire network of international criminals funneling money through Adrian's investment portfolios like he was running the world's most elegant laundromat. And then she found her father's name, Gerald Holloway, deceased 5 years, listed under legacy accounts, outstanding debts. The number beside his name made her knees buckle. $12 million. Her father had owed $12 million to people whose Wikipedia pages included words like suspected, alleged, and unsolved murders. Simone sat down in Adrian's chair, her whole body going numb. She kept reading. The deeper she went, the worse it got. Human trafficking operations masked as international staffing agencies, political blackmail networks, money moving between crime syndicates in Seoul, Hong Kong, Moscow, and Naples like blood pumping through a diseased heart. And Adrian wasn't just moving money. He was managing it, strategizing it, growing it. One document, labeled HW Marital Integration, made everything horrifyingly clear. Adrian had never loved her. He'd acquired her. Marrying Simone Holloway wasn't about romance. It was about absorbing her father's debt, taking control of the family estate, and securing political leverage through her mother's social connections in Atlanta. She was a business transaction, an asset, a perfectly polished solution to a financial problem. Simone's hands were still shaking when she heard footsteps in the hallway. She closed every window, cleared the browser history, and slipped out of the office 30 seconds before Adrian returned with a glass of scotch and that same pleasant, distant smile he always wore. "Can't sleep?" he asked. "Wedding nerves," she lied. He kissed her forehead. "Everything's going to be perfect." That was 3 nights ago. Now Simone sat in the bridal suite, 70 minutes away from walking down the aisle, and every cell in her body screamed at her to run. But run where? Her mother was downstairs greeting guests. Her bridesmaids were getting their hair touched up in the next room. Adrian's security team surrounded the entire cathedral. She had no car, no money, no plan. She was trapped. And then her phone buzzed. Unknown number. The message was short. "Fire escape, North Tower, 10 minutes. Simone's breath caught in her throat. She knew that cadence. Clipped, direct, no wasted words. Her hands were shaking so hard she almost dropped the phone. She hadn't heard from King Min Jae in 5 years. 5 years since Lisbon. 5 years since he walked out of her hotel room in the middle of the night without explanation and disappeared like smoke. She'd searched for him, called every number she had, sent messages that never got answered. Eventually, she accepted the truth. Whatever they had, whatever she thought they had, wasn't real enough for him to stay. It took her 2 years to stop crying about it. And now he was here. In Manhattan, 10 minutes away. Simone stood up, her legs shaking beneath the weight of the dress. She didn't know what Min Jae wanted, didn't know why he'd come back after all this time, didn't know if she could trust him. But she knew one thing with absolute certainty. She couldn't marry Adrian Vale. Not after what she'd seen, not after what she knew. Simone grabbed her phone, shoved it into the hidden pocket of her dress, and walked toward the door. One of the coordinators, a blonde woman with a clipboard and a headset, looked up sharply. "Miss Holloway, we're on schedule. Your mother's waiting downstairs." "I need air," Simone said. "The ceremony starts in an hour." "I said I need air." The woman's smile tightened, but she stepped aside. Simone walked through the corridor, past the powder room where her bridesmaids were laughing over champagne, past the marble staircase where her mother stood greeting senators and CEOs, past the gilded doors that led to the sanctuary where 300 guests waited to watch her become Mrs. Adrian Vale. She found the service stairwell and climbed. Her heels clicked against concrete. The dress dragged behind her like a ghost. She pushed through the rooftop access door and stepped into freezing February air. Snow was falling, soft, silent, covering Manhattan in white. And standing beside the fire escape, wearing a long black overcoat dusted with snow, was Kang Min Jae. He looked exactly the same. Dark hair, sharp jaw, eyes like black ice, but older now, harder. Like the 5 years between Lisbon and now had carved something cold and permanent into his face. He didn't smile, didn't move, just stood there, watching her with the kind of stillness that made her heart pound. Simone's voice came out smaller than she wanted. "You came. You called me," Min Jae said quietly. "That changes everything." She took a step closer, snow catching in her hair. "I didn't think you'd answer." "I always answer when it's you." The words hit her like a punch. 5 years of silence, 5 years of nothing. And now he stood here acting like he'd been waiting the whole time. "Why did you leave?" The question tore out of her before she could stop it. "In Lisbon, you were gone." No explanation, no goodbye, nothing. Min Jae's expression didn't change. "We don't have time for that conversation." "We don't have time?" Simone's voice cracked. "You disappeared for 5 years and now you show up at my wedding and say, 'We don't have time.'" "You sent me the files," Min Jae said evenly. "The ones you found on Adrian's server." She froze. "You read them?" "Every page." "Then you know—" I know your fiancé is laundering money for the Goryeo clan, Min-jae said. I know he's tied to trafficking operations in 6 countries. I know he bought you the same way he buys real estate. Simone's chest tightened. Hearing it out loud made it real in a way that terrified her. I can't marry him, she whispered. I know. But I don't know how to get out. His security's everywhere. My family's downstairs. If I just run... You don't run, Min-jae said. You disappear. He held out his hand. Simone stared at it. This was insane. She didn't know what Min-jae had been doing for the last 5 years, didn't know who he worked for now, didn't know if trusting him would get her killed. But she knew Adrian, knew what he was capable of, knew that if she walked down that aisle, she'd spend the rest of her life as a beautiful, elegant prisoner. She took Min-jae's hand. His grip was steady, strong, the kind of solid that made her feel like maybe, just maybe, she could survive this. We go now, Min-jae said. No goodbyes, no explanations. You walk away and you don't look back. My mother will be safer if you leave without telling her. Adrian will come after me. I know. He has resources, money, connections. Min-jae's eyes darkened. So do I. He led her toward the fire escape. Simone looked down at the snow-covered streets below, her heart hammering. This was it. No turning back. She thought about her mother downstairs, probably panicking by now. Thought about the 300 guests waiting in the sanctuary. Thought about the life she was supposed to have. The penthouse, the charity galas, the magazine covers. Then she thought about the files, the trafficking operations, the blood money, her father's name listed like inventory. She stepped onto the fire escape. The metal was slick with snow, her dress tangled around her legs. Min-jae moved ahead of her, testing each step before letting her follow. They descended 3 floors in silence. Then Min-jae stopped. Shoes off, he said. What? The heels. They'll slow you down. Simone looked at the snow-covered alley below, then back at Min-jae. He wasn't joking. She kicked off the custom Louboutin, another $6,000 Adrian had spent without blinking, and left them on the fire escape like discarded jewelry. The snow burned against her bare feet. Min-jae dropped down into the alley first, then reached up to catch her. Simone jumped. For a moment, she was weightless. Then his hands closed around her waist, and she was on the ground, barefoot in a wedding dress, standing in a Manhattan alley while snow fell around them like the world was ending. Min-jae pulled off his overcoat and wrapped it around her shoulders. There's a car 2 blocks east, he said. We move fast. Don't stop. Don't look back. Where are we going? Somewhere Adrian can't follow. He took her hand again and they ran. Simone's feet went numb after the first block. The dress dragged through slush and grime. She could hear shouting behind them. Security, probably. Maybe her mother. Maybe Adrian himself. She didn't look back. Min-jae pulled her around a corner, through a narrow gap between buildings, then out onto a side street where a black sedan idled with its engine running. The back door opened. Min-jae pushed her inside first, then slid in beside her. The driver didn't say a word, just pulled into traffic like nothing unusual had happened. Simone sat there, shaking, her bare feet still burning from the cold. Min-jae pulled a blanket from under the seat and wrapped it around her legs. You're safe, he said quietly. She looked at him, really looked at him, and realized she had no idea if that was true. Who are you now? She asked. Really, not the man I knew in Lisbon. Who are you now? Min-jae's expression was unreadable. The same person I was then, he said. You just didn't know what that meant. The car turned onto the highway, heading north out of the city. Simone watched Manhattan disappear through the rear window. All those glittering towers, all that wealth and power and carefully constructed perfection. She'd just walked away from all of it. From her family, from her life, from everything she was supposed to be. And the only person she had left was a man who'd broken her heart 5 years ago and still hadn't explained why. Min-jae's phone buzzed. He checked the screen, his jaw tightening. What is it? Simone asked. Adrian knows you're gone. Her stomach dropped. How? He has cameras in the cathedral, probably saw us on the roof. Then he knows you took me. Yes. He'll come after us. Min-jae's voice was cold. Let him try. The driver spoke for the first time. Boss, we've got movement. 3 vehicles. Parallel route. Min-jae leaned forward. How close? 2 miles. Closing fast. Simone's heart hammered. That's Adrian's security. I know. They're not going to just let me go. I know. Min-jae pulled a gun from inside his jacket. Simone's breath stopped. She'd never seen him armed before. Never seen this version of him. Cold, controlled, dangerous in a way that had nothing to do with charm or words. What are you going to do? She whispered. Min-jae checked the magazine, his movements efficient and practiced. Whatever it takes, he said. The driver's voice cut through the tension. Boss, they're moving to intercept. 60 seconds. Min-jae looked at Simone. For the first time since the rooftop, something human flickered across his face. I need you to trust me, he said. I don't even know you anymore. Yes, you do. The car swerved hard. Simone grabbed the door handle, her pulse spiking. Through the rear window, she saw headlights closing in fast. 3 black SUVs. Adrian's people. The lead vehicle pulled alongside them. The passenger window rolled down. Simone saw the barrel of a rifle, and then everything exploded into chaos. The gunshot shattered the rear window before Simone could scream. Glass exploded inward. The driver jerked the wheel hard right, and the sedan fishtailed across 2 lanes, tires shrieking against wet asphalt. Simone's shoulder slammed into the door. Min-jae's arm shot across her chest, pinning her down against the seat. Stay low, he said. His voice was calm, too calm, like getting shot at was something that happened every Tuesday. The SUVs closed in from both sides. Simone could see men leaning out the windows, dark suits, tactical gear, weapons she didn't have names for. Adrian's private security. The same men who smiled politely at her during charity events and called her Miss Holloway while opening doors. Now they were trying to kill her. The driver, a thin Korean man with silver hair and steady hands, spoke rapidly in a language Simone didn't understand. Min-jae answered in the same language, his tone clipped and direct. Another gunshot. The side mirror exploded. They're trying to box us in, the driver said in English now. Force us off the road. Min-jae's jaw tightened. Then don't let them. The driver floored it. The sedan lurched forward, engine screaming. They weaved between civilian cars like they were standing still. Horns blared. Someone's bumper clipped a guardrail and sent sparks flying. Simone's hands were shaking so hard she couldn't feel her fingers. This was insane. The driver yanked the wheel left and they shot across 4 lanes of traffic, narrowly missing a semi-truck that blasted its horn loud enough to rattle Simone's teeth. One of the SUVs tried to follow, didn't make it. Simone heard the crunch of metal on metal, saw the SUV spin out in the rearview mirror and slam into the concrete divider hard enough to fold the front end like an accordion. 2 left. Service exit in half a mile, the driver said. We take it, we lose them in the back streets. Min-jae nodded once. Simone finally found her voice. Who the hell are these people? I told you, Min-jae said. Adrian's security. They're trying to kill us. They're trying to kill me, Min-jae corrected. They want you back alive. That didn't make her feel better. The sedan carved through traffic, taking turns so sharp Simone's stomach lurched. The wedding dress tangled around her legs. She kicked at the fabric, trying to free herself, but the layers of lace and tulle were suffocating. Min-jae noticed. He pulled a knife from his belt. Not a pocket knife, a real blade with a handle wrapped in black cord, and sliced through the bottom half of the dress in one clean motion. Fabric fell away. Simone stared at him. You just destroyed a $50,000 dress. You're welcome. The exit ramp appeared on the right. The driver cut across 3 lanes without signaling and took the turn so fast the sedan went up on 2 wheels for a sickening moment before slamming back down. One of the SUVs followed. The other overshot the exit and disappeared down the highway. One left, the driver muttered. They plunged into a maze of narrow streets lined with warehouses and shipping containers. The snow was heavier here, turning everything gray and wet. The SUV stayed on them like a shadow. Min-jae rolled down his window. Cold air and snow poured into the car. He leaned out, gun raised, and fired 3 shots in quick succession. The SUV's windshield spiderwebbed. It swerved hard, clipped a parked truck, and spun out into a loading dock with a sound like the world ending. Silence. The driver kept going for another 2 miles before finally slowing down. Simone's ears were ringing. Her whole body felt like it was vibrating from adrenaline and terror and shock. Min-jae rolled the window back up and checked his phone like nothing had happened. "We're clear," he said. The driver nodded. "Safe house?" "The one in Red Hook, back entrance." "Understood." Simone couldn't breathe properly, couldn't think, couldn't process what had just happened. She looked at Min-jae, really looked at him, and realized she had no idea who this man was. The Min-jae she knew in Lisbon had been charming, smooth, dangerous in the way rich men who own nightclubs were dangerous. All surface, no teeth. This version of Min-jae had just killed people without blinking. "Who are you?" she whispered. Min-jae met her eyes. For a moment she saw something shift behind the cold mask he wore. Then it was gone. "Someone who keeps you alive," he said. The safe house was a converted warehouse in Red Hook that smelled like salt water and old concrete. The driver, whose name, Simone learned, was Yoon, parked in an underground garage that looked like it hadn't seen daylight in 20 years. Min-jae led her upstairs to a loft space with exposed brick walls, industrial windows, and furniture that looked expensive in that minimal Scandinavian way that rich people pretended wasn't about money. Simone stood in the middle of the room, still wearing the remains of her wedding dress and Min-jae's overcoat, and tried not to fall apart. Her feet were bleeding. She hadn't noticed until now. Min-jae noticed. He disappeared into another room and came back with a first aid kit. "Sit," he said. "I'm fine." "You're bleeding on my floor. Sit." Simone sat. Min-jae knelt in front of her and started cleaning the cuts on her feet with the kind of efficiency that made it clear he'd done this before. His hands were steady, gentle, even. It made her want to scream. "You left," she said. Min-jae didn't look up. "We're not doing this now." "When are we doing it? After the next car chase? After Adrian finds us again?" "After you're safe." "I'm not safe," Simone's voice cracked. "I just ran away from my wedding with a man I haven't seen in 5 years who apparently shoots people for a living." "I don't shoot people for a living." "Then what do you do?" Min-jae pressed gauze against a particularly deep cut. Simone hissed. "I run an organization," he said quietly. "Import-export, shipping logistics, financial consulting." "That's a lie." "It's also true." "You're mafia." Min-jae finally looked at her. His eyes were black, empty, the kind of empty that came from seeing too much and feeling too little. "Yes," he said. Simone's stomach turned. She'd suspected. Of course she'd suspected, but hearing him admit it out loud made it real in a way that terrified her. "The files I sent you," she said. "Adrian's connections to the Goryeo clan. You know them." "I know them." "How?" Min-jae wrapped her foot in clean bandaging, his movements precise. "Because I'm the one who runs them." The world tilted. Simone pulled her foot back, her whole body going cold. "You're the ghost of Busan." Min-jae didn't deny it. "That's what they called you in the files," Simone continued, her voice shaking. "The ghost. Adrian's people were terrified of you. They had entire contingency plans in case you ever found out about—" She stopped, because the truth hit her like a freight train. "You already knew," she whispered. "You knew Adrian was laundering money through your organization." Min-jae stood up, closing the first aid kit with a sharp snap. "I knew." "For how long?" 2 years. Simone's hands curled into fists. 2 years. You knew for 2 years that Adrian was using me and you didn't say anything? "You were engaged to him," Min-jae said flatly. "You made your choice." "I didn't know what he was—" "You didn't want to know." Min-jae's voice was cold. "You wanted the penthouse and the charity galas and the life he offered you. Don't pretend you were some innocent victim." The words hit like a slap. Simone stood up, rage boiling through her veins. "How dare you," she said. "You disappeared. You left me in Lisbon with no explanation, no goodbye, nothing. I spent 2 years trying to figure out what I did wrong, and when I finally moved on, when I finally tried to build something stable, you watched from the shadows like some kind of— I was protecting you. By letting me almost marry a criminal? By staying away from you." Min-jae's voice cracked, just for a second, just enough to show something raw underneath. "Do you know what Adrian would have done if he knew we had history? If he knew you meant something to me?" Simone froze. He would have used you, Minjay continued, his voice dropping back to that dangerous calm. He would have hurt you just to get to me. So I stayed away. I let you live your perfect life with your perfect fiancé, and I kept my distance. Until I called you. Until you called me. They stood there, staring at each other across 3 feet of empty space that felt like an ocean. Simone's chest hurt. Her whole body hurt. I don't know if I can trust you, she said quietly. I know. You lied to me in Lisbon. I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you everything. That's the same thing. Minjay's jaw tightened. No, it's not. He turned away, walking toward the industrial windows that overlooked the dark water of the harbor. You should get some sleep, he said. We leave in the morning. Leave for where? Maine. I have a property on the coast. Adrian won't find us there. And then what? Then we figure out how to keep you alive long enough to destroy him. Simone's throat tightened. She wanted to argue, wanted to demand answers, wanted to scream at him until he told her the truth about Lisbon, about why he left, about what he really wanted from her. But she was so tired, so completely exhausted she could barely stand. There's a bedroom upstairs, Minjay said without turning around. Clean clothes in the closet. Bathroom stocked. Simone didn't move. Why did you come back? She asked. Really? After 5 years of nothing, why did you answer when I called? Minjay was silent for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. Because I never stopped watching over you, he said, even when I should have. Well, Simone didn't sleep. She lay in the unfamiliar bed, staring at the ceiling, her mind racing through everything that had happened in the last 12 hours. The files, the wedding, the fire escape, the car chase. Minjay's hands on her feet, bandaging cuts with the kind of care that didn't match the coldness in his eyes. I never stopped watching over you. What did that mean? That he'd been tracking her for 5 years, monitoring her life from a distance like some kind of ghost? The thought should have terrified her. Instead, it made something twist painfully in her chest. Around 3 a.m, she gave up on sleep and went downstairs. The loft was dark except for the glow of city lights filtering through the windows. Minjay sat on the couch, still dressed, staring at his phone. He looked up when she appeared. Can't sleep? He asked. Can you? I don't sleep much. Simone sat down on the opposite end of the couch, pulling her knees to her chest. She was wearing clothes she'd found in the closet, black leggings and an oversized sweater that smelled faintly like cedar. They sat in silence for a while. Tell me about Lisbon, Simone said finally. Minjay's expression didn't change. No. Why not? Because it doesn't matter anymore. It matters to me. Simone, you owe me this, she said. After everything, after 5 years of silence, you owe me an explanation. Minjay set his phone down. For a long moment, he just looked at her. Then he sighed, a sound so tired it made him seem almost human. What do you want to know? He asked. Why you left? I already told you. To protect you. From what? From me. Minjay's voice was flat. From my life, from the things I do and the people I work with and the violence that follows me everywhere I go. I didn't care about that. You should have. His eyes were hard. You were 23 years old, Simone. You had your whole life ahead of you. A degree from Spelman, a family that loved you, a future that didn't involve looking over your shoulder every time you left the house. That wasn't your choice to make. Yes, it was. Simone's throat burned. You didn't even say goodbye. I know. You just left in the middle of the night like I didn't matter. You mattered too much, Minjay's voice cracked again. That was the problem. He stood up abruptly and walked to the windows. Simone followed. What does that mean? She demanded. Minjay braced his hands against the windowsill, his shoulders tight. It means I was falling in love with you, he said quietly, and that terrified me more than anything I'd ever faced. Simone's breath stopped. Men in my line of work don't get to love people, Minjay continued. We don't get families. We don't get normal lives. We get enemies and debts, and eventually we get killed. That's how it works. So you just decided we were over, without asking me? I decided you deserved better than waiting for the day someone put a bullet in my head. Simone's hands were shaking, That wasn't your decision to make. I made it anyway. She wanted to hit him, wanted to scream, wanted to make him feel even a fraction of the pain he'd caused her. Instead, she asked the question that had haunted her for 5 years. Did you ever regret it? Min-jae turned to face her. His eyes were dark, bottomless. Every single day, he said. The air between them felt electric, dangerous. Simone took a step closer, then another. Min-jae didn't move, didn't back away, just stood there watching her with an expression she couldn't read. I hate you, she whispered. I know. I hate that you left. I hate that you came back. I hate that I still... She couldn't finish the sentence, because finishing it would make it real. Min-jae's hand came up slowly, carefully, like he was approaching something wild that might bolt at any second. His fingers brushed her cheek. I know, he said again. And then he kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was 5 years of unfinished business and unresolved rage, and the kind of desperation that came from wanting something you knew would destroy you. Simone kissed him back like she was drowning, her hands fisted in his shirt, his arms wrapped around her waist, pulling her closer, closer, until there was no space left between them. She tasted salt, realized she was crying. Min-jae pulled back just enough to look at her. We shouldn't do this, he said. I know. It's a bad idea. I know. He kissed her again anyway. They made it as far as the couch before gravity took over. Simone's back hit the cushions. Min-jae's weight settled over her, solid and warm and familiar in a way that made her chest ache. His mouth moved to her jaw, her throat, the hollow of her collarbone. She arched into him, her fingers tangling in his hair. This was insane. This was exactly what she shouldn't be doing. But she didn't care, because for the first time in 5 years, she felt alive. Min-jae's phone buzzed. He ignored it. It buzzed again and again. He pulled back with a curse, his breathing ragged. What? Simone gasped. Min-jae grabbed his phone, his expression darkening as he read the screen. We have a problem. Simone sat up, trying to steady her breathing. What kind of problem? Adrian's people just raided your mother's house in Atlanta. The world tilted. What? They're looking for the files you stole. They think your mother knows where they are. Simone's blood went cold. Does she? No, but they don't believe her. He pulled up a video on his phone and turned it toward Simone. The footage was grainy, security camera quality, but clear enough. Her mother's house. The front door kicked in, men in tactical gear storming through the foyer, and her mother, elegant, composed Beverly Holloway, being dragged out in handcuffs while neighbors watched from their lawns. Simone couldn't breathe. This is my fault, she whispered. This is Adrian's fault. I should have told her. I should have warned her. She's safer not knowing. Min-jae's voice was hard. If she knew where you were, Adrian would torture it out of her. The casual way he said torture made Simone want to vomit. I have to go back, she said. I have to help her. You go back and you're dead. I can't just leave her. You don't have a choice. Min-jae grabbed her shoulders, forcing her to look at him. Adrian's not playing games anymore. He knows you have the files. He knows you're with me. And he's going to use every resource he has to get you back. Then what do I do? Min-jae's jaw tightened. You let me handle it. Handle it how? He didn't answer. That terrified her more than anything. They left for Maine before sunrise. Yoon drove them in a different car, a nondescript SUV with tinted windows and plates that Min-jae said were registered to a shell company in Delaware. Simone sat in the back seat, wrapped in a coat that wasn't hers, watching the city disappear through the window. She'd left her whole life behind. Her mother, her friends, her career, everything. And for what? To run away with a man who'd already broken her heart once. Min-jae sat beside her, silent, his attention focused on his phone. What are you doing? Simone asked. Making arrangements. For what? Your mother's release. Simone's head snapped toward him. How? I have people in Atlanta. They'll apply the right pressure. What kind of pressure? The kind that doesn't leave bruises. Simone's stomach turned. This was the world she'd stumbled into. A world where problems got solved with threats and bribes and violence wrapped in expensive suits. I don't belong here, she said quietly. Min-jae finally looked at her. You called me, he said. That means you're here whether you belong or not. They drove for 6 hours. The landscape shifted from urban sprawl to suburbs to small towns to empty highways cutting through snow-covered forests. Simone dozed off somewhere around the New Hampshire border and woke up to the smell of salt water. They were on the coast. Waves crashed against rocky cliffs. Seabirds circled overhead. The sky was gray and heavy with the promise of more snow. Min-jae's property turned out to be a sprawling estate perched on the edge of a cliff overlooking the Atlantic. The house itself was modern, all glass and steel and clean lines, but weathered in a way that made it look like it had been there forever. This is yours? Simone asked. One of several. How many properties do you own? Enough. Helpful. Inside, the house was minimalist, expensive, cold, like Min-jae himself. There's food in the kitchen, he said. Clothes upstairs, security systems active. Don't go outside without telling me first. Am I a guest or a prisoner? You're alive, Min-jae said. That's all that matters right now. He disappeared into another room, already on his phone again. Simone stood in the middle of the living room, staring out at the ocean, and tried not to fall apart. The first few days passed in a strange, suspended kind of silence. Min-jae worked constantly. Phone calls in Korean, encrypted messages, video conferences with men whose faces Simone never saw. She explored the house, read books from the shelves that lined the walls, stared at the ocean until her eyes burned, and tried very hard not to think about the kiss. But it was impossible, because every time she saw Min-jae, she remembered the weight of his body over hers, the taste of his mouth, the way his hands had felt against her skin. And every time he looked at her, she saw the same memory reflected in his eyes. They didn't talk about it. What was there to say? On the fourth night, Simone found him in the study, surrounded by files and laptops and maps spread across a massive desk. What are you working on? She asked. Adrian's network, Min-jae said without looking up. Trying to find the weak points. And? There aren't many. Simone moved closer, studying the files. She recognized some of the names. Executives, politicians, people Adrian had introduced her to at parties and fundraisers. All criminals, all complicit. How do you take down someone like that? She asked. Carefully. That's not an answer. Min-jae finally looked at her. You don't take down someone like Adrian by going after him directly, he said. You dismantle the infrastructure, cut off his funding, turn his allies against him, make him vulnerable. That could take years, or weeks. Depends on how smart we are. Simone's eyes fell on a folder labeled Holloway Legacy Accounts, her father's name. She picked it up before Min-jae could stop her. Inside were documents she'd never seen before, loan agreements, transfer receipts, correspondence between her father and men with titles like financial consultant and international advisor. He was in deep, Min-jae said quietly. Deeper than you know. How deep? Deep enough that Adrian's people were planning to use your father's debts as leverage against your family for the next 20 years. Simone's hand shook. Why didn't you tell me this before? Because you weren't ready to hear it. And I'm ready now? Now you don't have a choice. She wanted to throw the folder at him. Instead, she kept reading. The deeper she went, the worse it got. Her father hadn't just borrowed money. He'd partnered with criminals, helped them launder funds through his real estate development company, looked the other way while people got hurt, all to maintain the lifestyle they'd built in Atlanta, the mansion, the country club, the private schools. He wasn't a good man, Simone whispered. No, Min-jae agreed. He wasn't. Did you know him? We met once, years ago. Before you and I... He stopped himself. Before Lisbon. What was he like? Charming, desperate, willing to make deals he shouldn't have made. Simone closed the folder, her chest tight. I spent my whole life thinking he was a hero, she said. My mother worshipped him. Everyone in Atlanta respected him. And the whole time, he was human, Min-jae said. Flawed, selfish, trying to protect what he loved the only way he knew how. That doesn't make it okay. No, it doesn't. Simone set the folder back on the desk. I need air, she said. She walked out onto the terrace before Min-jae could stop her. The wind was brutal, cold enough to sting, but she didn't care. She stood at the edge of the cliff, staring down at the waves crashing against the rocks below, and tried to reconcile the man she'd loved with the criminal he'd apparently been. Behind her, she heard footsteps. Min-jae appeared with a coat. He draped it over her shoulders without a word. They stood there in silence, watching the ocean. "My father wasn't who I thought he was," Simone said finally. "Adrian wasn't who I thought he was. You weren't who I thought you were. No one ever is." "How do you live like that? Never trusting anyone?" "You learn." Simone turned to face him. "Do you trust me?" Min-jae's expression was unreadable. "I'm trying to," he said. "That's not an answer. It's the only one I have." The wind picked up, carrying snow with it. Simone pulled the coat tighter around herself. "I found something," she said. "In your study, while you were on the phone yesterday." Min-jae went still. "What did you find?" "A letter." Simone's voice shook. "Handwritten. Multiple drafts. All different versions of the same goodbye." Min-jae's jaw tightened. "You had no right." "It was from Lisbon," Simone continued. "You wrote it the night you left. I could tell from the date." She pulled the letter from her pocket. Min-jae stared at it like it was a weapon. "You rewrote it 6 times," Simone said, "trying to find the right words, trying to explain why you were leaving." "Simone, but you never gave it to me." Her voice cracked. "You wrote 6 different versions of goodbye and you never gave me any of them." "Because there were no right words. So you chose silence instead." "I chose your survival." Simone's hands were shaking. "The last version," she said. "The one you didn't finish. It said, 'I can't love you and keep you safe at the same time. One of us has to make the choice. I'm making it for both of us.'" Min-jae looked away. "You left because you loved me," Simone whispered. "Not because you didn't." "Yes. You could have told me, and what would you have done?" Min-jae's voice was raw. "Stayed with me? Followed me into this life? Watched people die because they were standing too close to me? That should have been my choice." "You were 23 years old. Stop using my age as an excuse," Simone shouted. "I was old enough to make my own decisions, old enough to know what I wanted, and I wanted you." The words hung in this frozen air between them. Min-jae's expression cracked, just for a moment, just long enough for Simone to see the pain underneath. "I couldn't risk it," he said quietly. "Losing you would have destroyed me. So I left before I had the chance." Simone's chest ached. "And now?" "Now you're here anyway." His voice was hollow. "And I still don't know how to keep you safe." He turned and walked back inside. Simone stood alone on the terrace, the letter clutched in her hand, and realized something that terrified her more than Adrian, more than the files, more than anything. She was still in love with Kang Min-jae, and this time she had absolutely no idea how to walk away. The breaking point came 6 days later. Simone was in the kitchen, making coffee, when Min-jae's phone rang. She heard his voice from the other room, sharp, angry, then silence, then footsteps. He appeared in the doorway, his face pale. "What happened?" Simone asked. "Adrian made a move." "What kind of move?" Min-jae's jaw was tight. "He just offered a $50 million bounty for your location." Simone's blood went cold. "To who?" "Everyone." Min-jae's voice was flat. "Every crew, every syndicate, every freelance operator from here to Hong Kong. $50 million for whoever delivers you back to him alive." The cup slipped from Simone's hands. It shattered against the tile floor, coffee spreading like blood. "We're not safe here," she whispered. "No," Min-jae agreed. "We're not." "Then where do we go?" Min-jae met her eyes, and for the first time since the cathedral, she saw fear, real, genuine fear. "There's only one option left," he said. "We go public. We expose everything. Adrian's network, the laundering operations, the trafficking, all of it. That'll destroy him. That's the idea. It'll also paint a target on both of us for the rest of our lives." "I know." Simone's hands were shaking. "If we do this," she said slowly, "there's no going back." "No," Min-jae said. "There's not." They stood there in the kitchen, surrounded by broken glass and spilled coffee, And Simone realized they'd reached the point where every choice was a bad one. Stay hidden and eventually get found, or go public and declare war on one of the most powerful men in America. "What do you need from me?" she asked. Min Jae's expression hardened. "Everything," he said. "Every file, every document, every piece of evidence you found on Adrian's server." "And then?" "Then we burn his empire to the ground." Simone's phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her look. The message was 2 words: last chance. A photo loaded beneath the text. Her mother, bound to a chair in a room Simone didn't recognize. Bruised, bleeding, alive, but barely. The next message came through immediately. "You have 48 hours. Come back or she dies." Simone's legs gave out. Min Jae caught her before she hit the floor. "What is it?" he demanded. She couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, just held up the phone with shaking hands. Min Jae's face went cold, colder than she'd ever seen. "He's bluffing," he said. "That's my mother. He's trying to force your hand. Min Jae, that's my mother!" "I know." His voice was steel. "And if you go back, you'll both be dead within the hour." Simone's whole body was shaking. "I can't just leave her." "You don't have to." "What does that mean?" Min Jae pulled out his own phone and made a call. He spoke rapidly in Korean, his tone clipped and commanding. When he hung up, his expression was unreadable. "I'm sending a team," he said. "They'll extract your mother within 24 hours. "A team?" "People I trust." "Can they really?" "Yes." Simone wanted to believe him, but she'd seen what Adrian was capable of. What if they fail? They won't. But what if... Simone. Min Jae gripped her shoulders, forcing her to look at him. "I will not let Adrian hurt your mother. Do you understand me?" His eyes were black fire. Absolute, unshakable. "Okay," she whispered. "But we're done hiding," Min Jae continued. "Adrian wants a war, we give him one." He pulled up a contact on his phone and hit dial. "Who are you calling?" Simone asked. "Someone who can help us disappear while my people work." The line connected. "It's me," Min Jae said. "I need a meeting. Tonight. Chicago." A pause. "I'm calling in the favor," Min Jae said. "All of them." He hung up. Simone stared at him. "Chicago?" "There's a gathering," Min Jae said. "International financiers, crime brokers, people who move money for organizations like Adrian's." "You're going to a criminal conference?" "We both are." "Why?" Min Jae's smile was cold. "Because if we're going to destroy Adrian," he said, "we need to make sure the people who finance him understand that protecting him will cost them everything." Simone's heart pounded. "This is insane." "Yes." "We could die." "Yes." "But we're doing it anyway." Min Jae met her eyes. "Unless you want to spend the rest of your life running," he said. Simone thought about her mother, thought about her father's debts, thought about Adrian's cold smile and the way he'd called her leverage, thought about 5 years of heartbreak and lies and unfinished love. "No," she said. "I'm done running." Min Jae nodded once. "Then pack light," he said. "We leave in 2 hours." Chicago hit them like a fist. The city sprawled beneath heavy clouds that promised snow but hadn't delivered yet. The plane touched down at a private airfield 40 minutes outside the loop, and from there, Yoon drove them through industrial corridors that looked like the kind of place bodies got found in dumpsters. Simone sat in the back seat wearing clothes that weren't hers, a black silk blouse, tailored pants, heels that cost more than her first car. Min Jae had insisted she look the part. "What part?" she'd asked. "Someone who belongs in rooms where people get killed for asking the wrong questions." Not comforting. Min Jae sat beside her, silent and focused. He'd barely spoken during the flight. Just sat there reviewing files on his tablet, his jaw tight, his eyes dark. She wanted to ask him what he was thinking, wanted to know if he was as terrified as she was, but she already knew the answer. Min Jae didn't get terrified. He got cold. The car pulled up to a building that looked like it had been a warehouse in a previous life. Brick facade. Broken windows on the upper floors. Graffiti layering the walls like scar tissue. "This is it?" Simone asked. "This is it," Min Jae confirmed. Yoon parked in an alley behind the building. 2 men appeared from the shadows, massive, armed. wearing earpieces and expressions that suggested they'd seen worse things than whatever Simone could imagine. Min-jae stepped out first. The guards nodded respectfully. One of them said something in Korean. Min-jae answered in the same language, his tone clipped. Then he turned back to Simone. "Stay close to me," he said. "Don't speak unless someone asks you a direct question, and if things go wrong, you run. Understood?" "What do you mean, if things go wrong?" "Understood?" His voice was sharp enough to cut. Simone nodded. They went inside. The warehouse had been converted into something that tried very hard to look legitimate. Polished concrete floors, modern furniture, track lighting that cast everything in cold white clarity. But underneath the expensive veneer, Simone could feel the violence. It was in the way the guards watched them, in the tension hanging in the air like smoke, in the quiet hum of conversations that stopped abruptly when Min-jae walked past. They took an industrial elevator to the third floor. The doors opened onto a space that looked like a high-end restaurant crossed with a boardroom. A long table dominated the center of the room, surrounded by chairs that probably cost more than Simone's college tuition. And seated around the table were men who looked like they'd walked out of a nightmare dressed in $1,000 suits. Simone recognized a few faces from the files she'd stolen. Crime financiers, money launderers, men who made fortunes moving blood-stained cash through legitimate channels. Min-jae walked in like he owned the place. Maybe he did. The conversation stopped. Every eye in the room turned toward them. One man at the head of the table, older, silver-haired, with a face like expensive leather, stood up slowly. "Kang Min-jae," he said. His accent was vaguely European, Russian, maybe. "I wondered if you'd actually come." "Victor," Min-jae said evenly. "I keep my word." "Not always." Victor's smile didn't reach his eyes, but I appreciate the gesture. He looked at Simone. "And this must be the runaway bride everyone's talking about." Simone's stomach dropped. Min-jae's hand found the small of her back, a subtle pressure that said, "Stay calm." "This is Simone Holloway," Min-jae said. "She's under my protection." Victor's eyebrows rose. "Your protection? How interesting." He gestured to two empty chairs. "Please, sit. We have much to discuss." Min-jae guided Simone to the table. She sat down, her hands folded in her lap to hide the shaking. Around the table, she counted 9 other people. All men, all watching her like she was either prey or a problem they hadn't decided how to solve yet. "So," Victor said, settling back into his chair. "You've called in your favors, Kang. That means you need something significant." "I need information," Min-jae said, "and insurance." "Against?" "Adrian Vale." The name landed like a grenade. Several men exchanged glances. One of them, a thin man with wire-rimmed glasses and a scar across his throat, laughed quietly. "You're declaring war on Adrian Vale?" he asked. "That's bold. Also suicidal." "Not if I dismantle his infrastructure first," Min-jae said calmly. Victor leaned forward, his fingers steepled. "Adrian Vale is one of the most connected men in our world. His network spans 6 continents. He has politicians, judges, law enforcement on his payroll. What makes you think you can touch him?" Min-jae pulled a small drive from his pocket and set it on the table. "Because I have everything," he said. "Every account, every transfer, every shell corporation, every dirty deal he's made in the last decade." Silence. Victor picked up the drive, turning it over in his fingers like it might explode. "And where did you get this, man?" he asked. "From her," Min-jae said, nodding toward Simone. Every eye in the room shifted to her. Simone forced herself to breathe. "Adrian was careless," Min-jae continued. "He kept records he shouldn't have kept. And now those records are going to destroy him. Unless," Victor said slowly, "someone in this room decides it's more profitable to tell Adrian exactly where you are." The threat was casual, almost friendly, but it made Simone's blood turn to ice. Min-jae didn't flinch. "That would be a mistake," he said. "Would it?" Victor smiled. "Adrian's offering $50 million for her location. That's a lot of money, Kang." "And if you take it," Min-jae said, "you'll be declaring yourself an enemy of the Goryeo clan. Every operation you run, every deal you make, every shipment you move, we'll burn it all. You know I have the reach." Victor studied him. Then he laughed. You're threatening us? Here? In our house? I'm reminding you, Minjae said quietly, that my organization doesn't forgive betrayal, and $50 million won't mean much when you're dead. The temperature in the room dropped. Simone could feel the violence building, could see it in the way hands moved toward concealed weapons, in the way guards stationed along the walls tensed. One wrong word and this whole thing would explode. Victor set the drive down carefully. You have balls, Kang, he said. I'll give you that. I have leverage, Minjae corrected. Adrian's empire is built on relationships with people in this room. If I expose him, I expose you too. Every transaction, every partnership, all of it. So you're threatening to drag us all down with him? I'm offering you a choice, Minjae said. Help me dismantle Adrian quietly, or watch your own operations collapse when federal investigators start following the money trails on that drive. Another silence, longer this time. Victor exchanged looks with several other men at the table. Finally, he spoke. What do you want from us? Two things, Minjae said. First, I need Adrian isolated. Cut off his access to your networks. No more money moving through your channels. No more political protection. Make him vulnerable. And second, I need someone on the inside, someone close to Adrian who can feed me information about his movements. Victor smiled coldly. You're asking us to commit treason against one of our most profitable partners. I'm asking you to choose survival over loyalty. One of the other men, younger, American accent, expensive watch, spoke up. And what's our incentive? Why should we burn bridges with Adrian for you? Minjae's expression didn't change. Because Adrian's already planning to burn you, he said. He pulled out his phone and brought up a document. 3 weeks ago, Minjae continued, Adrian met with federal prosecutors in New York. He offered them a deal, immunity in exchange for information about international money laundering operations. He slid the phone across the table. That's the transcript. Notice the names he's willing to give up. Victor picked up the phone. His face went pale. He passed it to the man beside him. One by one, the document made its way around the table, and one by one, the expression shifted from skepticism to rage. He was going to sell us out, someone muttered. To save himself, another added. Victor's hands curled into fists. That bastard, he said quietly. That arrogant, backstabbing bastard. Minjae leaned back in his chair, his expression unreadable. So, he said, do we have an agreement? Victor looked at him for a long moment. Then he nodded. We'll cut Adrian off, he said. Freeze his accounts. Shut down his access. Give you 48 hours to make your move. And the inside man? I'll make a call. Victor's smile was vicious. Adrian's about to learn what happens when you betray the wrong people. Minjae stood. Simone stood with him. One more thing, Victor said. The girl. Simone's heart stopped. What about her? Minjae asked, his voice dropping to something dangerous. Adrian wants her back, Victor said. Alive. Undamaged. That bounty's real. And people in our world don't ignore $50 million. She's under my protection, Minjae repeated. For now, Victor said. But if you fail, if Adrian gets to you first, there's not a person in this room who won't collect that bounty. Are we clear? Minjae's jaw tightened. Crystal. They left. The elevator ride down was silent. Simone's hands were shaking so hard she had to grip the railing to stay steady. When they reached the car, she finally found her voice. They were talking about selling me like I'm livestock. I know. And you just stood there. What did you want me to do? Minjae's voice was sharp. Start a firefight in a room full of armed criminals? I could have gotten us both killed, Minjae said. Victor's people would have buried us in that warehouse and no one would have found the bodies. Simone's chest tightened. So what now? Now we move fast. Minjae pulled out his phone. Victor will keep his word for 48 hours. After that, all bets are off. And my mother? My team's already moving. They'll have her out within 12 hours. You promise? Minjae looked at her. I promise. Simone wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that everything would work out, but she'd seen the way those men looked at her, like she was worth exactly $50 million, and nothing more. But they drove to a hotel downtown. One of those anonymous mid-range places where nobody asked questions and security cameras had convenient blind spots. Min-jae checked them in under a fake name, paid cash. Took a room on the 8th floor with a view of the river and 2 exits. Simone sat on the edge of the bed, staring at her hands. "You should eat something," Min-jae said. "I'm not hungry." "You haven't eaten since this morning." "I said I'm not hungry." Min-jae didn't push. He just stood by the window, watching the street below, like he expected Adrian's people to burst through the door any second. Simone's phone buzzed. Unknown number again. She almost didn't look. But curiosity, or maybe dread, made her pick it up. The message was a video file. She pressed play. Her mother's face filled the screen. Beverly Holloway looked worse than in the last photo. More bruised, more broken, but her eyes were still sharp. "Simone," her mother said, her voice hoarse, "I don't know if you'll see this. I don't know if you're even alive." Simone's throat closed. "But if you are," Beverly continued, "you need to know something. Your father, Gerald, he didn't just owe money to these people. He worked for them, for years. He helped them move money, hide assets, build networks." Simone's hands went numb. And when he died, Beverly said, he left behind more than debts. He left behind information, records, evidence that could destroy half the criminal organizations in this country. The video shook slightly. "Adrian knew," Beverly whispered. "He always knew. That's why he wanted to marry you, not for the debt, for the information. Your father hid it somewhere only family could access. And Adrian thought marrying you would give him the legal right to everything Gerald left behind." Simone couldn't breathe. "I'm sorry," Beverly said, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I thought if I kept quiet, if I just played along, they'd leave you alone. But I was wrong." The video cut off. Simone sat there, staring at the blank screen, her entire world collapsing. Her father wasn't just a criminal. He was a criminal who'd hidden evidence that could topple empires. And she was the key. "Min-jae," she said quietly. He turned from the window. "What is it?" She handed him the phone. He watched the video, his expression darkening with every second. When it finished, he was silent for a long time. "This changes everything," he said finally. "What do you mean?" "Your father's records," Min-jae said. "If they exist, if they're real, they're not just evidence against Adrian. They're evidence against everyone. Every organization your father worked with, every syndicate he helped." "Including yours?" Min-jae's jaw tightened. "Yes." Simone's stomach turned. "You knew," she whispered. "You knew my father worked with criminals." "I knew he was connected. I didn't know how deep." "Did you know about the records?" "No." "Are you lying to me?" "No," Min-jae said sharply. "If I'd known your father left behind evidence like that, I would have found it years ago." Simone stood up, her hands shaking. "So Adrian didn't just want me for the debt," she said. "He wanted access to information that could destroy people like you." "Yes." "And you." Her voice cracked. "You brought me to Chicago, to a room full of criminals who'd kill me if they knew I might have access to records that could destroy them." Min-jae's expression was unreadable. "They don't know," he said. "Yet. They won't find out." "How can you be sure?" "Because I won't let them." Simone laughed bitterly. "You can't protect me from everyone, Min-jae." "I can try." "And what happens when you fail?" She was shouting now. "What happens when Victor figures out what I am? When Adrian tells everyone that I'm the key to records that could send them all to prison? That won't happen. It's already happening." Simone's voice broke. "My mother's being tortured. Adrian's hunting us. And you just made a deal with people who'll sell me to the highest bidder the second it's convenient." Min-jae crossed the room in 3 steps. He grabbed her shoulders, forcing her to look at him. "I will not let them hurt you," he said. "Do you understand me? I will burn this entire city down before I let anyone touch you." "You can't promise that." "I just did." They stood there inches apart, both breathing hard. Simone's eyes burned. "I don't know if I can trust you," she whispered. Min-jae's grip tightened. "Then don't," he said. "But stay with me anyway." His phone rang. Min-jae answered without looking away from her. "What?" His expression changed, shifted into something cold and deadly. "When?" he asked. A pause. How many? Another pause. Min-jae's jaw clenched so hard Simone thought it might break. Get everyone out, he said. Now. He hung up. What happened? Simone asked. Adrian's people just hit the safe house in Maine, Min-jae said. They knew we were there. How? I don't know. Your team is dead, Min-jae said flatly. All of them. Simone's legs gave out. Min-jae caught her before she hit the floor. We have a leak, he said. Someone in my organization is feeding Adrian information. Who? I don't know yet. Then how do we… Min-jae's phone rang again. Different number. He answered. What? Simone watched his face go pale. Are you sure? He asked. Whoever was on the other end said something that made Min-jae close his eyes. Understood, he said quietly. He hung up. What is it? Simone asked. Min-jae didn't answer. Min-jae, what is it? He looked at her with an expression she'd never seen before. Devastation. Your mother's dead, he said. The words didn't make sense. Simone heard them, processed them, but they didn't connect to anything real. What? My team got to the location 30 minutes ago, Min-jae said, his voice hollow. They were too late. Adrian's people executed her before they could extract. Simone couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't feel anything except a roaring emptiness that swallowed everything whole. No, she whispered. I'm sorry. No. Simone, you promised. She shoved him hard enough to make him stumble back. You promised you'd get her out. I tried. You promised. She hit him, once, twice, her fist slamming into his chest while tears poured down her face and her whole body shook with rage and grief and horror. Min-jae let her. Didn't block. Didn't defend himself. Just stood there and took it until Simone collapsed against him, sobbing so hard she thought her lungs would burst. She's gone, Simone gasped. She's gone and it's my fault. It's not your fault. I should have gone back. I should have… You'd be dead too. Maybe that would have been better. Min-jae's arms tightened around her. Don't say that, he said roughly. Don't ever say that. Simone clung to him, her whole world shattering into pieces she didn't know how to put back together. Her mother was dead. Adrian had killed her, and Simone hadn't been there to stop it. She pulled back, wiping her eyes with shaking hands. I want him dead, she said. Her voice was flat, empty. Min-jae studied her face. Are you sure? I want Adrian Vale dead, Simone repeated. I don't care how. I don't care what it costs. I want him to suffer and then I want him gone. That's not who you are. You don't know who I am anymore. Min-jae was silent. Then he nodded slowly. Okay, he said. Okay? I'll kill him, Min-jae said. But you need to understand what that means. Once I do this, there's no going back. You'll be complicit. You'll be part of this world whether you want to be or not. I'm already part of it, Simone said. My father made sure of that. She pulled away from him, walking to the window. Chicago glittered below, cold, indifferent, beautiful in the way things were beautiful when you didn't look too close. There's something else, she said quietly. What? My mother said my father hid records, evidence, information that could destroy criminal organizations. I heard. She said only family could access it. Simone turned to face him. That means me. Min-jae's expression was unreadable. Do you know where it is? No, but I know how to find out. How? Simone's jaw tightened. My father had a safety deposit box, she said, in Atlanta, under a fake name. My mother and I were the only ones who knew about it. What's in it? I don't know. He died before he could tell me. Min-jae pulled out his phone. We go to Atlanta, he said. Get the records. Use them to destroy Adrian and anyone else standing in our way. That'll take time. We don't have time. Then we make time, Simone said. Her voice was cold, hard. Because I'm not running anymore. I'm not hiding. And I'm not letting Adrian get away with what he did. Min-jae studied her. You've changed, he said quietly. Good. Her phone buzzed. Another message. Unknown number. She almost threw the phone across the room, but something made her look. The message was short. You have something I want. I have something you want. Let's make a trade. A photo loaded. Simone's breath stopped. It was Yoon, Min-jae's driver, bound, gagged, gun to his head. The next message came through. Tomorrow, noon. The cathedral where you were supposed to marry me. Come alone or he dies. Bring the drive. Bring the information your father hid, or I start killing everyone you've ever met. Simone showed Min-jae the phone. His face went white. It's a trap, he said. I know. He'll kill you the second you walk in. Probably. Then you're not going.
Yes, Simone said quietly. I am. Simone, he has Yoon. He killed my mother, and he's not going to stop until I'm dead or he gets what he wants. So we give him nothing, Min-jae said. We disappear. Start over somewhere he can't find us. There is nowhere he can't find us. Simone's voice was steady. You said it yourself. Adrian has resources, connections. He'll hunt us forever. Then we kill him first. How? He's surrounded by security, by lawyers, by people who'll protect him because it's profitable. We'll find a way. There is no other way, Simone said. Not anymore. She looked at the message again. Tomorrow, noon, the cathedral, where this whole nightmare started. I have to go, she said. You'll die. Maybe. That's not acceptable. It's not your choice. Min-jae grabbed her wrist, pulling her close. I didn't survive 5 years without you just to watch you walk into a suicide mission, he said roughly. Then come with me. He said, come alone. I don't care what he said. They stared at each other. Two people who'd spent 5 years running from the truth, finally standing still enough to face it. If we do this, Min-jae said quietly, we do it my way. What's your way? We don't give Adrian what he wants, Min-jae said. We give him what he deserves. Simone's jaw tightened. And what's that? Min-jae's smile was cold enough to freeze blood. A funeral. They had 18 hours. Min-jae spent the first 3 making calls to people whose names Simone didn't recognize and didn't want to know. His voice was clipped, efficient, cold. Orders delivered in Korean, Russian, English, each conversation ending the same way. Understood? No witnesses. Make it clean. Simone sat on the hotel bed staring at her mother's face on her phone screen. A photo from 2 years ago. Beverly Holloway at a charity gala, wearing diamonds and a smile that hid everything broken underneath. Dead now. Executed because Simone ran. The guilt was a living thing. It ate at her from the inside, sharp and relentless. Min-jae hung up his last call and turned to face her. We have a team, he said. 6 people. Best I could pull together on short notice. What's the plan? You walk into the cathedral like Adrian asked, but you're not alone. My people will be positioned throughout the building. Roof access, side entrances, underground tunnels that connect to the old subway system. And when Adrian realizes I brought backup, he'll already be surrounded. Simone set her phone down. You're planning to kill him in the cathedral? Yes. In front of witnesses. There won't be witnesses, Min-jae said. Everyone Adrian brings dies. Everyone who sees what happens dies. We burn the building if we have to. The casual way he said it made Simone's stomach turn. This was who Min-jae really was. Not the charming man she'd met in Lisbon. Not the protector who bandaged her feet. A killer, cold, efficient, willing to murder dozens of people to protect what was his. And she was his, whether she wanted to be or not. What about Yoon? She asked. Min-jae's jaw tightened. If he's still alive when we get there, we extract him. If not what? Then we make Adrian pay for it. Simone stood up, her legs shaking. I need to know something, she said. What? If it comes down to a choice, or saving me or saving Yoon, but which one do you pick? Min-jae didn't hesitate. You. Even if Yoon's been with you for years? Even then, Simone's chest tightened. That's not fair to him. Life's not fair. Min-jae's voice was flat. Yoon knows the risks. He signed up for this life. You didn't. I'm in it now. Because I dragged you into it. No, Simone said. Because my father dragged me into it 20 years ago, and I just didn't know it yet. She walked to the window, staring out at Chicago's skyline. There's something I need to tell you, she said. What? I lied about the safety deposit box. Min-jae went still. What do you mean you lied? There is no box in Atlanta, Simone said quietly. My father didn't hide records in a bank. Then where are they? I don't know. She turned to face him, but I know who does. Who? My father's lawyer, Marcus Webb. He handled all of Gerald's estate planning. If anyone knows where my father hid evidence, it's him. Min-jae pulled out his phone. Where is he? New York. Manhattan. He has an office in Midtown. We don't have time to go to New York.
We don't have to. Simone's voice was steady. Marcus is already in Chicago. Min-jae's eyes narrowed. How do you know that? Because Adrian's smarter than we thought, Simone said. He's not just hunting me. He's hunting the records. And the fastest way to find them is to find Marcus. She pulled up her email and showed Min-jae a message she'd received 6 hours ago. From Marcus Webb. Subject. Urgent. Your father's estate.
Simone, I know you're in danger. Adrian Vale contacted me yesterday asking about your father's sealed documents. I told him nothing, but he's not the kind of man who accepts no for an answer. I'm in Chicago meeting with federal investigators who are building a case against him. If you're reading this, you need to know what your father left behind could destroy everyone, including the man you're with. Be careful who you trust. Min-jae read the message twice.
When he looked up, his expression was unreadable. He knows about me, Min-jae said. Apparently. What else does he know? I don't know, but he's willing to talk to federal investigators. That means he's either brave or stupid. Or desperate. Min-jae's jaw tightened. Where is he staying? He didn't say. Then we find him. Min-jae made another call, spoke rapidly in Korean, hung up. I have people checking hotels near federal buildings. We'll have a location within the hour. And then what? Then we get to him before Adrian does. They found Marcus Webb at a Marriott 3 blocks from the federal courthouse, room 1247. Min-jae's people confirmed he was alone. No security, no Adrian's men, just a 60-year-old lawyer who'd gotten in way over his head. Simone knocked on the door. No answer. She knocked again. Marcus, it's Simone Holloway. I need to talk to you. Silence. Then footsteps. The door cracked open. A chain lock held it in place. Marcus Webb looked like he'd aged 10 years in the last week. Gray hair disheveled, glasses smudged, eyes red from lack of sleep. Simone, he breathed. Thank God. Let us in, Simone said. Us? Min-jae stepped into view. Marcus's face went pale. No, he said. Absolutely not. I'm not letting him anywhere near. He's with me, Simone said firmly. Either you let us both in, or we have this conversation in the hallway where anyone can hear. Marcus hesitated. Then he closed the door, unhooked the chain, and opened it again. They went inside. The room was a mess. Paper scattered across the bed. Laptop open on the desk. Half-eaten room service congealing on a tray. Marcus locked the door behind them and turned to face Simone. Are you insane? He hissed. Do you know who this man is? Kang Min-jae, Simone said. Head of the Goryeo clan, one of the most dangerous men in the world. Yes, Marcus, I know exactly who he is. Then why? Because he's the only reason I'm still alive. Marcus looked at Min-jae like he was staring at a coiled snake. Your father would be rolling in his grave, Marcus said. My father was a criminal, Simone shot back. He worked with men like Min-jae for years, so don't stand there and pretend he had moral high ground. Marcus flinched. You need to leave, he said to Min-jae. This conversation is privileged. Attorney-client. I'm not your client, Simone interrupted. My father's dead. That privilege died with him. That's not how it works. I don't care how it works. Simone's voice was hard. Adrian Vale killed my mother. He's hunting me. And you're going to tell me where my father hid his records before Adrian gets to you too. Marcus's hands were shaking. He sat down on the edge of the bed, suddenly looking much older than 60. Your father was terrified, Marcus said quietly. The last year of his life, he barely slept. He knew the people he was working with would kill him eventually, so he built insurance. What kind of insurance? Documentation, everything. Names, dates, transactions, wire transfers, shell corporations, Photographs, audio recordings, 20 years of evidence proving that some of the most powerful men in the world were criminals. Simone's breath caught. Where is it? Marcus looked at Minjae. If I tell you, he said, will you kill me? Minjae's expression was cold. That depends on what you tell us. Minjae? Simone said sharply. He didn't look at her. Answer the question, Marcus, Minjae said. Where are the records? Marcus swallowed hard. Your father was smart, he said to Simone. He knew he couldn't hide physical evidence. Too easy to find, too easy to destroy. So he did something different. What? He uploaded everything to a secure server, encrypted, hidden behind multiple layers of security. The only way to access it is with two things, a password and biometric verification. What kind of biometric verification? Retinal scan, Marcus said. Your father programmed the system to only recognize two people, himself and you. Simone's stomach dropped. Me? You're the key, Marcus said. The only living person who can unlock those files. That's why Adrian wanted to marry you. That's why he's hunting you now. Without you, the evidence stays buried forever. Minjae's jaw tightened. Where's the server? I don't know the physical location, Marcus admitted. Your father never told me, but I have the access portal. He pulled a small drive from his pocket. This contains the software needed to connect. Once Simone completes the retinal scan, the files download automatically. He held out the drive. Simone took it, her hands shaking. What's on those files? She asked. Marcus's expression was grim. Everything your father did for the last 20 years. And everyone he did it with. Including Minjae? Marcus nodded. Simone looked at Minjae. He met her eyes without flinching. Is that true? She asked. Probably, Minjae said. Your father and I worked together on several projects. If he kept records, I'm in them. And you're okay with that? No, Minjae said. But I'm okay with you having leverage. Leverage against you. Against everyone. His voice was steady. If those files are as comprehensive as Marcus says, you'll have enough evidence to destroy every criminal organization your father touched, including mine. Simone's throat tightened. Why would you want me to have that kind of power over you? Minjae's expression softened just slightly. Because you're the only person I trust not to use it unless you have to, he said. Marcus stood up abruptly. This is insane, he said. Simone, you can't seriously be considering keeping those files. You should turn them over to federal investigators. Let them handle. Federal investigators can't protect me from Adrian, Simone said, but they can prosecute him after he kills me. Simone's voice was flat. No, I'm not waiting for the legal system to save me. I'm handling this myself. By working with criminals? By working with the only person who's kept me alive this long. Marcus shook his head. Your mother would be ashamed. The words hit like a slap. Simone's hands curled into fists. My mother's dead because of Adrian Vale, she said quietly. So don't you dare tell me what she'd think. Marcus flinched. Before he could respond, the window exploded. Glass shattered inward. Simone hit the floor on instinct, her ears ringing. Minjae had his gun out before the first shard hit the carpet. Down, he shouted, but it was too late. 3 men rappelled through the broken window. Tactical gear, suppressed weapons, movement so smooth they looked choreographed. Adrian's people. Minjae fired twice. 1 man dropped. The other 2 returned fire. Bullets tore through the room. The lamp exploded. The mirror shattered. Marcus screamed and dove behind the bed. Minjae grabbed Simone and pulled her toward the bathroom. Go, he shouted. What about Marcus? Go! Simone ran. She made it 3 steps before one of the attackers grabbed her from behind. His arm locked around her throat. She couldn't breathe, couldn't scream. Minjae turned, his gun rising. The attacker pressed his weapon against Simone's temple. Drop it, the man said. His voice was calm, professional. Or I paint the walls with her brain. Minjae froze. For the first time since Simone had known him, she saw genuine fear in his eyes. Let her go, Minjae said quietly. Drop the gun first. That's not happening. Then she dies. The cold metal pressed harder against Simone's head. She could feel the man's finger tightening on the trigger. Minjae's hand didn't waver. You pull that trigger, he said. and you die 3 seconds later. Is that worth it? Adrian's paying me $50 million, the man said. I'd say it's worth it. He's paying you to bring her back alive. Alive was the preference. Dead's acceptable. Simone's vision was starting to blur. She couldn't get air. Couldn't think. Her hands clawed uselessly at the arm around her throat, and then she remembered the knife. The one Min-jae had given her back in Maine, small, sharp, hidden in the lining of her jacket. Her fingers found it. She pulled it free and drove it backward into the man's thigh. He screamed. His grip loosened for half a second. It was enough. Simone dropped, rolled, and Min-jae fired. The bullet took the man in the chest. He went down hard. The second attacker fired at Min-jae. Missed. Min-jae didn't. 2 shots. Center mass. The man collapsed. Silence. Simone lay on the floor, gasping for air, her hands covered in blood that wasn't hers. Min-jae crossed the room in 2 steps and pulled her up. You okay? She nodded, unable to speak. Min-jae turned to Marcus, who was still cowering behind the bed. How many more are coming? Min-jae demanded. I don't know. How did they find you? I don't know. Min-jae grabbed him by the collar and hauled him to his feet. Think. Marcus's face was white. I used my credit card for the room. Maybe they tracked... Idiot. Min-jae shoved him toward the door. We're leaving. Now. They made it into the hallway just as the elevator doors opened. 4 more men, armed, moving fast. Min-jae fired without hesitation. The hallway erupted into chaos. Simone ran, her legs pumping, her breath ragged. Min-jae was right behind her, providing covering fire. Marcus stumbled, fell, scrambled back up. They hit the emergency stairwell and started descending. Footsteps echoed above them. Shouts in languages Simone didn't understand. They made it to the 3rd floor before the door ahead of them burst open. 2 more men. Min-jae didn't slow down. He shot the first one in the face. The second one grabbed Simone. She stabbed him with the knife still clutched in her fist. He went down screaming. They kept running. 2nd floor, 1st floor, lobby. Hotel guests were screaming, diving for cover. Someone was calling the police. Min-jae grabbed Simone's hand and pulled her toward the side exit. They burst into an alley. A car screeched to a stop in front of them. The door opened. Get in! Someone shouted. Simone didn't recognize the driver. Didn't care. She dove into the back seat. Min-jae shoved Marcus in behind her and followed. The car was moving before the door even closed. Simone sat there, shaking, covered in blood, her ears still ringing from gunfire. Who the hell is driving? She gasped. One of mine, Min-jae said. He was checking his ammunition, reloading. We're going to the cathedral. Now? We're out of time. Adrian knows we have the drive. He knows Marcus told us about the server. He's not going to wait until tomorrow. But Yoon is either dead or bait. Min-jae's voice was hard. Either way, this ends tonight. The driver spoke in Korean. Min-jae answered, then pulled out his phone. I'm calling in everyone, he said. Every resource, every favor, every person who owes me. We hit the cathedral with everything we have. Adrian will be ready for that. I'm counting on it. Simone looked at Marcus, who sat in the corner looking like he was about to be sick. Are you okay? She asked. He laughed bitterly. Am I okay? Simone, I just watched 3 people get killed in front of me. I'm not sure I'll ever be okay again. Welcome to my life, Simone muttered. She looked down at her hands, still shaking, still covered in blood. She'd just stabbed a man, twice. The thought should have horrified her. Instead, she felt nothing. Just cold. Empty. Like the part of her that used to care about violence and death had burned away completely. We're 10 minutes out, the driver said. Min-jae checked his phone one last time. My people are in position, he said. Roof, side entrances, underground access. The second we walk through those doors, it's over. And if Adrian brought more people than you did, then we die fighting. Simone met his eyes. I'm not afraid anymore, she said. You should be. I'm not. Her voice was steady. I'm angry, and I'm done running. Min-jae's expression softened. I know. The cathedral appeared ahead of them. Same marble walls. Same stained glass windows. Same place where Simone was supposed to marry Adrian Vale and become Mrs. Perfect while he used her to access her father's criminal empire. Now she was coming back to kill him. The symmetry was almost poetic. The car stopped 2 blocks away. "This is as close as we get without being spotted," the driver said. Min Jae opened the door. "Marcus, you stay here. If we're not back in 30 minutes, you drive to the federal courthouse and turn over everything to the investigators. And if you are back, then you disappear and hope Adrian's people don't find you before mine do." Marcus nodded shakily. Min Jae turned to Simone. "Last chance to walk away," he said. "I'm not walking away. This is going to get ugly." "It already is." Min Jae's jaw tightened. Then he leaned forward and kissed her, hard, desperate, like it might be the last time. When he pulled back, his eyes were dark. "Stay close to me," he said. "No matter what happens, you stay close." "I will." They got out of the car. The snow had started falling again, soft, silent, covering the streets in white. Simone looked up at the cathedral. Lights blazed in the windows. Someone was inside, waiting. Min Jae's phone buzzed. He checked it, his expression darkening. "What?" Simone asked. "Adrian just sent a message," Min Jae said. "He says if we're not inside in 5 minutes, Yoon dies." "It's a trap." "I know. We're walking into it anyway." "Yes." Simone took a deep breath. "Then let's finish this." They walked toward the cathedral side by side. Simone's heart was pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. This was it. No more running, no more hiding, just her, Min Jae, and the man who'd destroyed her entire life. The cathedral doors loomed ahead. Min Jae pushed them open. Inside, candles still burned along the walls. The flowers from the wedding had wilted, turning brown and gray. And standing at the altar, exactly where Simone was supposed to have stood beside him as his bride, was Adrian Vale. He looked exactly the same, polished, perfect, wearing a suit that probably cost more than most people's cars. But his eyes were different, cold, dead. The eyes of a man who'd stopped pretending to be human. "Simone," he said warmly, "you're late." She didn't answer, just stared at him with all the hatred she'd been carrying since the moment her mother died. Adrian's smile widened. "I see you brought your pet gangster," he said. "How romantic." Min Jae's hand moved toward his gun. "Don't," Adrian said casually. He gestured. The side doors opened. Armed men flooded into the sanctuary. Simone counted 12, then 20, then stopped counting. Too many. Way too many. Adrian had brought an army. "You didn't actually think I'd come alone, did you?" Adrian asked. "Please, give me some credit." Min Jae's jaw tightened, but he didn't draw his weapon. "Where's Yoon?" he asked. "Alive," Adrian said, "for now." He gestured again. 2 men dragged Yoon out from behind the altar. He was beaten, bloody, barely conscious, but alive. "Let him go," Min Jae said. "In exchange for what?" "Me." "Not interested," Adrian said. "I want her, and I want the drive." Simone pulled the drive from her pocket, held it up. "This?" Adrian's eyes gleamed. "That." "It's encrypted," Simone said. "Without the password and biometric scan, it's useless." "I know." Adrian smiled. "That's why I need you alive." He took a step forward. Min Jae moved between them. "You don't touch her," he said quietly. Adrian laughed. "Or what? You'll shoot me? In front of 30 witnesses? In a building surrounded by my people?" "If I have to. Then you'll die 30 seconds later, and so will she." Adrian's expression shifted, became something colder, darker. "I tried to do this the civilized way," he said. "I offered you marriage, Simone, security, a life most women would kill for, and you threw it back in my face." "Because you're a monster," Simone said. "I'm a businessman." "You killed my mother." "Your mother was leverage." Adrian's voice was flat. "You ran. She paid the price. That's how this works." Simone's hands were shaking, not from fear, from rage. "I'm going to destroy you," she said quietly. Adrian smiled. "With what? That drive?" "Please. Even if you unlock it, what are you going to do? Go to the police, the FBI? Half of them are on my payroll." "Then I'll leak it," Simone said. "Everything, every name, every transaction, every crime. I'll send it to every news outlet in the country. And in the process, destroy yourself. Adrian gestured toward Min Jae. You think the world won't notice you're working with the ghost of Busan? That you're complicit in everything he's done? I don't care. You should. Adrian's eyes were cold. Because the second those files go public, every criminal organization your father screwed over will come after you. And trust me, Simone, there are worse things than death. Min Jae's phone buzzed. He glanced at it. His expression changed. What? Simone asked. Min Jae looked at Adrian. Your people just tried to breach my safe houses, he said quietly. All of them, simultaneously. Adrian smiled. Did they succeed? No, but they triggered the security protocols. Which means you just declared war on the Goryeo clan. Min Jae's voice was ice. Every organization we work with, every ally, every asset, they're all coming for you now. Adrian's smile faltered, just for a second. Then it was back. Bring it, he said. I've been preparing for this moment for years. He raised his hand. The armed men around the sanctuary raised their weapons. All pointed at Simone and Min Jae. Last chance, Adrian said. Give me the drive. Come with me quietly. And I'll let your pet gangster walk out of here alive. Simone looked at Min Jae. He met her eyes. And in that moment, she saw everything. The 5 years of silence, the letters he never sent, the love he was too terrified to admit, the man who'd walked away to keep her safe and come back the second she called. No, Simone said. Adrian's expression darkened. No? I'm not giving you anything. Simone's voice was steady. And I'm not going anywhere. Then you'll die here. Maybe, Simone said, but so will you. She pulled something else from her pocket, a small remote. Adrian's eyes widened. What is that? Insurance, Simone said. The same kind my father used. You see, Adrian, while you were busy hunting me, I was busy planting evidence. In your offices, your homes, your private accounts, every server you own. And this little device? It triggers a release protocol. One button, and every file on that drive gets uploaded to a distributed network. Thousands of copies, scattered across the internet, untraceable, permanent. Adrian's face went pale. You're bluffing. Try me. The cathedral went silent. 30 armed men, 2 people standing in the middle, and a small remote that could destroy empires. You press that button, Adrian said slowly, and you destroy everyone, including him. He nodded toward Min Jae. Is that really what you want? Simone looked at Min Jae. He didn't say anything, just watched her with those dark eyes, waiting, trusting her to make the choice. Yes, Simone said quietly. If that's what it takes to stop you? Yes. Her thumb moved toward the button. And then the cathedral exploded. The explosion didn't come from inside the cathedral. It came from beneath it. The floor buckled. Ancient marble cracked like ice on a frozen lake. Simone felt the ground drop out from under her feet for half a second before Min Jae's arm wrapped around her waist and pulled her backward. They hit the ground hard. All around them, Adrian's men were shouting, scrambling, trying to figure out what was happening. Then the side doors blew. Not open. Blew. Charges detonated simultaneously on both sides of the sanctuary, sending wood and metal and centuries-old stone flying inward like shrapnel. Min Jae's people poured through the smoke. The cathedral erupted into chaos. Gunfire exploded in every direction. Muzzle flashes lit the darkness like lightning. The sound was deafening, sharp cracks echoing off marble walls designed to amplify voices raised in worship, not war. Simone couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't process anything except the weight of Min Jae's body covering hers while bullets tore through the air above them. Stay down, he shouted. She nodded, her face pressed against cold stone. Min Jae rolled off her and came up firing. 3 shots. 2 men dropped. He moved like violence was a language he'd spoken his whole life. Efficient, brutal, no wasted motion. Simone scrambled behind a pew, her hand shaking so hard she could barely grip the remote still clutched in her fist. Through the smoke and chaos, she saw Adrian. He was moving toward the altar, flanked by 4 bodyguards, using the confusion as cover, heading for Yoon. Min Jae! Simone screamed, but her voice was swallowed by gunfire. She stood up, her legs shaking, and ran. Someone grabbed her arm. She spun, driving her elbow backward into whoever it was. Felt bone crunch. The grip loosened. She kept running. Adrian reached Yoon first. He pulled a gun from inside his jacket. Sleek, expensive, the kind of weapon that cost more than most people made in a year, and pressed it against Yoon's temple. "Kang!" Adrian shouted. His voice cut through the chaos. "Call off your people or I kill him!" The gunfire slowed, then stopped. Min-jae stood 20 feet away, his weapon raised, his chest heaving. Blood streaked his face. Simone couldn't tell if it was his or someone else's. "Let him go," Min-jae said. His voice was calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that came right before someone died. Adrian smiled. "No." He cocked the hammer. Yoon closed his eyes, and Simone pressed the button. Nothing happened. No explosion, no dramatic reveal, no files uploading to the internet because the remote was a bluff. She'd been bluffing the entire time, but Adrian didn't know that. His eyes went wide. He looked at Simone, then at the remote in her hand, then back at Min-jae. "What did you do?" he demanded. "I just destroyed you," Simone said quietly. It was a lie, but it was a good lie. And in the split second Adrian's attention shifted toward her, Min-jae moved. He crossed the distance between them faster than Simone could track. His gun came up. Adrian's gun swung toward him. 2 shots fired simultaneously. Both men staggered. Simone screamed. Min-jae hit the ground. Blood bloomed across his chest, dark, spreading fast. Adrian stumbled backward. His hand pressed against his shoulder where Min-jae's bullet had torn through. For a moment, nobody moved. The cathedral was silent except for the sound of Simone's ragged breathing. Then Adrian laughed. It was a broken sound, wet, wrong. "You think you've won?" he gasped. Blood dripped between his fingers. "You think killing me changes anything?" Simone ran to Min-jae. He was still conscious, barely. His eyes were open but unfocused. "Min-jae," she whispered. Her hands pressed against his chest, trying to stop the bleeding. "Min-jae, stay with me." His lips moved. She leaned closer. "Finish it," he breathed. "What?" "Finish it." His hand found hers, pressed something cold and heavy into her palm. His gun. Simone looked down at the weapon, then at Adrian, who was trying to drag himself toward the exit, leaving a trail of blood across white marble. She stood up. Her legs shook. Her hands shook. Everything shook. But she walked toward Adrian anyway. He heard her footsteps and turned. His face was pale, sweating. The arrogance that had defined him for so long was cracking, revealing something smaller underneath. Fear. "Simone," he said. "Wait, we can—" "Shut up." She raised the gun. Adrian's eyes widened. "You won't do it," he said. "You're not a killer. You murdered my mother. That was business. You tried to own me. I loved you. You don't know what love is." Simone's finger tightened on the trigger. Adrian held up his hands. "Please," he whispered. "Please, I'll give you everything. Money, connections, whatever you want. Just don't—" The gunshot echoed through the cathedral like thunder. Adrian's body jerked, then went still. Simone stood there, the gun still raised, staring at what she'd done. She'd just killed a man, shot him in the chest, watched the life drain out of his eyes. The gun slipped from her fingers and clattered against the floor. She couldn't feel her hands, couldn't feel anything. Behind her, she heard movement. Min-jae's people were securing the cathedral, checking bodies, making sure Adrian's men were either dead or no longer a threat. Someone was calling for a medic. Simone turned and ran back to Min-jae. He was still breathing, shallow, ragged, but breathing. "Help him!" she screamed. "Someone help him!" A man appeared beside her, one of Min-jae's people, wearing tactical gear and carrying a medical kit. "Move," he said. Simone moved. The medic worked fast, pressure on the wound, gauze, tape. Something injected into Min-jae's arm that made his breathing even out slightly. "Is he going to live?" Simone asked. The medic didn't answer, just kept working. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. "We need to leave," someone said. Police are 2 minutes out." "We're not leaving him," Simone said. "We don't have a choice." "I said we're not leaving him." The medic looked up. "He needs a hospital," he said. "Real doctors, surgery. I've stabilized him, but he's losing blood too fast. Then we take him to a hospital. The second we do, police will be all over us." "I don't care," Simone said. Her voice was steel. We take him to a hospital, or I stay here and explain to the police exactly what happened. Your choice. The men exchanged glances, then one of them nodded. Get him in the car. They lifted Min Jae carefully. He groaned but didn't wake up. Simone followed them out through a side exit that led to an alley where 3 vehicles waited. They loaded Min Jae into the back of an SUV. Simone climbed in beside him. The medic got in front. Closest hospital's 15 minutes, the driver said. Make it 10, Simone said. The SUV peeled out. Simone held Min Jae's hand the entire way. His skin was cold, too cold. Don't you dare die, she whispered. Do you hear me? Don't you dare die and leave me again. His fingers twitched in hers. His eyes opened slightly. Simone, he breathed, I'm here. Adrian? Dead. Something that might have been a smile flickered across Min Jae's face. Good. Then his eyes closed again. The hospital was chaos. Doctors shouting orders, nurses running, machines beeping, blood everywhere. They took Min Jae straight into surgery. Simone tried to follow, but a nurse stopped her. Family only. I am family. Are you his wife? Simone hesitated, then lied. Yes. The nurse's expression softened. There's a waiting room on the 3rd floor. Someone will update you when we know more. Simone nodded numbly. She walked to the waiting room and sat down in a plastic chair that smelled like disinfectant and despair. Her hands were still covered in blood. Min Jae's blood. She stared at them, trying to remember how to breathe. Someone sat down beside her. She looked up. It was one of Min Jae's people. A woman this time. Young. Korean. Expression unreadable. You should clean up, the woman said quietly. I'm fine. You're covered in blood. I said I'm fine. The woman pulled out a packet of wet wipes and handed them over. Simone took them, started cleaning her hands mechanically. Is he going to make it? Simone asked. I don't know, the woman said honestly. He's survived worse, but this was bad. What's your name? Jiwoo. How long have you worked for him? 6 years. Do you trust him? Jiwoo smiled slightly. With my life, she said. He's the best man I know, which doesn't mean he's good. Just means he's better than the rest of us. Simone's throat tightened. I killed someone tonight, she said quietly. Jiwoo didn't look surprised. Adrian Vale? Yes. Good, Jiwoo said simply. He deserved it. That doesn't make it easier. No, Jiwoo agreed. It doesn't, but easier doesn't matter. What matters is that he's dead and you're alive. They sat in silence for a while. Then Jiwoo spoke again. He loves you, she said. In case you were wondering, Min Jae. He doesn't say it, doesn't know how, but he loves you more than anything in this world. Simone's eyes burned. How do you know? Because I've watched him for 6 years, Jiwoo said, and I've never seen him care about anyone the way he cares about you. He would burn the world down to keep you safe, and tonight he almost did. A doctor appeared in the doorway. Simone stood up so fast she almost fell over. Mrs. Kang? The doctor asked. Simone nodded, not bothering to correct the name. Your husband's out of surgery, the doctor said. The bullet collapsed his lung and nicked an artery. We had to remove part of the damaged tissue and repair the vessel. He lost a lot of blood. But he's stable. Simone's legs nearly gave out. He's alive. He's alive, the doctor confirmed. Critical but stable. We're moving him to the ICU. You can see him in about an hour once he's settled. Thank you, Simone whispered. The doctor nodded and disappeared back down the hallway. Simone sat down hard. Jiwoo squeezed her shoulder once, then stood up. I need to make some calls, she said. Clean up the mess at the cathedral. Make sure the authorities don't connect this to you. How are you going to do that? The same way we always do, Jiwoo said. Money, influence, and a little bit of violence when necessary. She walked away. Simone sat alone in the waiting room, staring at the fluorescent lights overhead, and tried to process everything that had happened in the last 12 hours. She'd killed a man, watched Min Jae nearly die, destroyed her entire life, and somehow she was still here, still breathing, still alive. They let her see Min Jae 90 minutes later. He was unconscious, hooked up to machines that beeped steadily, monitoring his heartbeat, his breathing, his blood pressure. A thick bandage covered his chest. Tubes ran from his arms. He looked small, vulnerable. Nothing like the dangerous man who'd pulled her off a fire escape in a wedding dress and promised to keep her safe. Simone sat down in the chair beside his bed and took his hand. It was still cold, but his pulse was steady beneath her fingers. "You're an idiot," she whispered. "You know that? You stepped in front of a bullet for me. Again, what is wrong with you?" Min Jae didn't answer, just kept breathing. In and out, steady, alive. Simone pressed her forehead against his hand. "I love you," she said quietly. "I never stopped. Even when I hated you, even when I tried to move on, I never stopped loving you." The machines beeped. Min Jae's fingers twitched. His eyes opened slowly. "Simone," he rasped. She looked up, her vision blurring with tears. "I'm here." "You're okay?" "I'm fine. You're the one who got shot." "I've had worse." "That doesn't make me feel better." Min Jae's lips curved slightly. "You killed Adrian." It wasn't a question. "Yes." "How do you feel?" Simone thought about it. "Empty," she said finally, "like I should feel something, guilt, regret, horror, but there's just nothing. That's normal." "Is it?" "The first one's always the hardest," Min Jae said. His voice was weak but steady. "After that, it gets easier, until one day you realize you don't feel anything at all." "Is that what happened to you?" "Yes." Simone's throat tightened. "Don't want to become that," she whispered. "Cold. Empty. Like you." Min Jae's expression shifted. For a moment she saw genuine pain flicker across his face. "I'm not empty," he said quietly. "Then what are you?" "Terrified." His fingers tightened around hers. "Every second of every day. Terrified that I'll lose you, that I'll fail you, that loving you will get you killed." Simone's breath caught. "You left me in Lisbon because you were scared?" "I left because I was convinced loving you would destroy you," Min Jae said. "And I couldn't live with that, so I walked away before I had the chance to watch it happen." "That wasn't your choice to make." "I know." His voice cracked. "And I've regretted it every day since." Simone leaned forward, her forehead resting against his. "Don't leave me again," she whispered. "I won't." "Promise me." "I promise." They stayed like that for a long time. Two broken people holding on to each other in a hospital room that smelled like antiseptic and second chances. Finally, Min Jae spoke again. "What about the files?" he asked. "What about them? Your father's records, do they exist?" Simone pulled back slightly. "I don't know," she admitted. "The remote was a bluff. I don't actually know if the server's real or if my father was just paranoid." "We should find out." "Why?" "Because if those files exist," Min Jae said, "they're leverage against everyone, including the people who might come after you now that Adrian's dead." Simone's stomach turned. "You think Adrian's people will want revenge?" "I think Adrian had allies who will want to tie up loose ends," Min Jae said carefully. "And you're a loose end." "Then what do we do?" "We find the files," Min Jae said. "We secure them, and we use them to make sure no one ever comes after you again." "And if the files implicate you?" Min Jae met her eyes. "Then you decide what to do with them," he said. "I trust you." Simone's chest tightened. "Even if I chose to turn you in?" "Even then." She didn't know what to say to that, so she just held his hand and listened to the machines beep and tried to imagine a future where she wasn't running from someone. 6 months later, Portugal. The villa sat on a cliff overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. White walls, terracotta roof, gardens filled with lemon trees and bougainvillea that bloomed purple against the sky. Simone stood on the terrace, watching waves crash against rocks 100 feet below. The morning air was cool, salty, clean. She'd bought the villa 2 months ago with money from accounts her father had left behind. Legitimate accounts, surprisingly. Money he'd earned before he got tangled up with criminals. It wasn't much, but it was enough. Behind her, she heard footsteps. Min Jae appeared carrying 2 cups of coffee. He still moved carefully. The scar across his chest would be permanent, a thick line of puckered tissue that she traced with her fingers sometimes when they lay together in the dark. "You're up early," he said. "Couldn't sleep." Nightmares? Memories. Min-jae handed her a cup and stood beside her, staring out at the ocean. He looked different here, lighter, like the weight he'd been carrying his whole life had finally eased. "I heard from Jiwoo," he said. "The last of Adrian's network collapsed yesterday. Federal investigators seized everything. Bank accounts, properties, shell corporations, all of it. And the people he worked with? Running, hiding, turning on each other." Min-jae's smile was cold. "Your father's files destroyed them faster than any bullet could." They'd found the server 3 weeks after the cathedral. Marcus had been right. The files were real, comprehensive, devastating. 20 years of evidence that implicated hundreds of people in crimes ranging from money laundering to human trafficking. Simone had spent 2 weeks staring at those files, trying to decide what to do with them. In the end, she'd done exactly what her father should have done years earlier. She'd given them to federal investigators. All of them, including the files that implicated Min-jae. He'd been arrested 2 days later, held for questioning, released after 48 hours when his lawyers, expensive, terrifying, ruthlessly efficient, negotiated a deal. Immunity in exchange for testimony against the bigger fish. It meant Min-jae was out of the business, permanently. His organization had been dismantled, his assets seized, his connections severed. Everything he'd built over 20 years, gone. "Do you regret it?" Simone asked quietly. "Losing everything?" Min-jae was silent for a moment. Then he shook his head. "No," he said. "I regret a lot of things, but losing the life I had to keep the life I want? That's not one of them." He set down his coffee and turned to face her. "I need to ask you something," he said. "What?" He pulled a small box from his pocket. Simone's breath stopped. "I know this isn't traditional," Min-jae said. "And I know we've done everything backward. And I know I'm not the man you deserve. But..." He opened the box. Inside was a ring. Simple. Elegant. A single diamond set in platinum. "Marry me," Min-jae said. "Not because I'm trying to own you. Not because I'm trying to protect you. Not because of debts or leverage or any of the reasons people in my old world got married. Marry me because I love you. Because I've loved you since Lisbon and I never stopped. Because I want to wake up next to you every morning for the rest of my life and try to be the kind of man who deserves you." Simone's eyes burned. "You're an idiot," she whispered. "Is that a yes?" "You're a criminal. Former criminal. You got shot because of me. I'd do it again. You left me once. And I'll spend the rest of my life making up for it." Simone looked at the ring, then at Min-jae, then at the ocean stretching endlessly beyond them. She thought about her mother, her father, Adrian, the wedding that never happened, all the violence and lies and broken promises that had led her here. And then she thought about the man standing in front of her, flawed, dangerous, terrified of losing her, but real, absolutely, completely real. "Yes," she said. Min-jae's eyes widened. "Yes? Yes, I'll marry you, you idiot." He laughed, a sound she'd never heard before, pure, unguarded, happy. He slid the ring onto her finger, then pulled her close and kissed her, soft, sweet, like they had all the time in the world. When they finally pulled apart, Simone rested her hand against his chest, right over the scar, right over his heartbeat. "I chose you a long time ago," she whispered, "in Lisbon. When you walked into that bar and looked at me like I was the only person in the room, I chose you then, and I'm choosing you now." Min-jae's arms tightened around her. "I don't deserve you. Probably not. But I'll try. I know." They stood there on the terrace while the sun climbed higher and the ocean glowed gold beneath the morning light. Two people who'd survived things they shouldn't have survived. Two people who'd been broken and rebuilt and broken again. Two people who'd finally stopped running. "What do we do now?" Simone asked. Min-jae smiled. "We live," he said simply. "We wake up every morning, we drink coffee, we watch the ocean. We build something that's ours and no one else's. and we try very hard to be boring. You think we can do boring? Probably not, Min-jae admitted, but it'll be fun trying. Simone laughed, a real laugh, the first one in months. And standing there in the Portuguese sunlight with a ring on her finger and a man who'd walked through fire to keep her safe, she realized something that felt almost like peace. Her father had been a criminal. Her mother had died protecting secrets. Adrian had tried to own her, and Min-jae had broken her heart. But somehow, through all the violence and betrayal and unfinished love, she'd survived. She'd fought. She'd killed. She'd chosen herself when no one else would. And now, finally, she was choosing love. Not the fairy tale kind. Not the magazine cover kind. The real kind. Messy. Complicated. Built on scar tissue and second chances. The kind that didn't come with guarantees but felt worth fighting for anyway. Come on, Min-jae said, taking her hand. Let's go inside. I'll make breakfast. You can't cook? I'm learning. You almost burned down the kitchen last week. That was one time. It was 3 times. Details. Simone let him pull her inside. The villa was small but filled with light. No marble, no imported flowers, no perfection. Just walls they'd painted together and furniture they'd picked out and books scattered across tables because they both read too much and put things away too little. It was messy. Imperfect. Theirs. Min-jae did actually try to make breakfast. He burned the eggs. Simone laughed and ordered pastries from the bakery in town instead. They ate on the terrace, watching fishing boats drift across the horizon. And when the sun climbed high enough to turn the ocean into liquid gold, Min-jae pulled Simone into his lap and kissed her like they had all the time in the world. Maybe they didn't. Maybe someone from their past would find them eventually. Maybe the peace they'd built would shatter. But for now, right now, they had this. Morning light, ocean wind, coffee and burnt eggs, and a future that belonged to them. Simone rested her head against Min-jae's shoulder and closed her eyes. I love you, she whispered. I know, Min-jae said. I love you too. And for the first time in years, Simone believed it. Believed that love could exist without ownership. That protection didn't require control. That 2 broken people could build something whole if they tried hard enough. The ocean stretched endlessly before them. The lemon trees swayed in the breeze. And somewhere in the distance, church bells rang. Not for a wedding, not for a funeral, but just because it was Sunday and the world kept turning. Simone opened her eyes and looked at the ring on her finger. Then at the man holding her. Then at the life they were building together. One imperfect, beautiful day at a time. We're going to be okay, she said. It wasn't a question. Min-jae smiled against her hair. Yes, he said. We are. And beneath the Portuguese sun, 2 people who'd survived the worst the world could throw at them finally stopped running and stayed.